Hey, what's up, everybody? Chris here, and it has finally arrived. The Nintendo Switch 2. Years of speculation about this thing's existence, whether or not the original Switch would have a Switch Pro console or whatever. All that is at the wayside now. The actual console is here, the successor to the Switch, which is, I think, the second best selling console of all time after the PlayStation 2. I've had it for a day, and just a quick little bit of backstory on how I acquired this. So I pre-ordered it through Target's website the night those went available. As of yesterday morning, I was checking, and it kept saying pre-order preparing to ship. It hadn't shipped yet. I got a little bit annoyed with that, and I started thinking, what if I just walk into a Target? And actually, after going onto Reddit and looking, I saw a few people were in the same boat, and they said they walked into their local Target or Walmart or wherever, and they had plenty of them in stock. I picked up my son from his football workout yesterday, and afterwards I was like, we're just going to swing by Target for a second. And I ran in there just to check, and sure enough, they had like 20 to 30 consoles just sitting there in like a big cart with some employees waiting to check out people. And so I went ahead and picked this up. I did keep my pre-order because my wife and I talked about it, and either we're going to sell it to a friend who has been looking for one, or we might give it to our kids for them to share. And so I've got another one coming here in the next few days. But I have had essentially a full day hands-on with this, and you can sort of look at the system and see what I've got included on here so far. Mario Kart World, I have the bundle. I'll talk about that in just a moment. The GameCube Game Pass, not Game Pass, the GameCube stuff from Nintendo Switch Online. I keep calling it Game Pass because I'm so used to that because of Xbox. And then Fast Fusion. If you think about the launch of the Nintendo Switch, the original Switch, they had Fast RMX. This is, I guess, a successor, a sequel to that. I love racing games. I really enjoyed that game, so I played this a good bit. But Mario Kart World is definitely the game I've been playing the most of, and so I'll talk a little bit about that briefly. But this is really just kind of my thoughts on the hardware. And I do think after a day of having had this, having removed the Joy-Cons, having looked at the different features that are included here, having played it docked, I can sort of offer a review on the hardware, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, you're not going to know how something's going to stand up until you've had it for a long period of time. I mean, a couple of years down the road, I might have different opinions on this. If there are things like Joy-Con drift, which we don't know if that's going to be a thing yet, like it was with the original Switch. But what I can say is this. This is a very premium piece of tech that feels like Nintendo put a lot of care into it. It feels like a necessary evolution or upgrade of the original Switch. It's not a complete reinvention. It's just the next step that was sorely needed. And I will say, with my original Switch, or the Switch OLED, I guess I should say, the Switch 1, I really hadn't played it that much over the past year. There just weren't a whole lot of games that I was interested in, and the performance on it had gotten so bad over time with some of the games that I was just like, you know what? I know the Switch 2 is coming. I'm just going to wait and maybe revisit some games on that, such as Echoes of Wisdom. I'm excited to put that in here. I've heard that's gotten a performance bump, and it looks like, according to Digital Foundry, a lot of original Switch 1 games actually just run way better on here without a dedicated patch, which is really great to see, like improved frame rate, all of that kind of stuff. So there are some games that I didn't finish. Link's Awakening, as I mentioned, Echoes of Wisdom. There are a few other things that I'm going to play on this now that I have it, just to see how they run. But the hardware itself is great. The Joy-Cons, right? The magnetic Joy-Cons, I'll demonstrate here, right? So you remove them. They're magnetic. They're easy to pop on and off. They just slot in super easily. It's way better than the rail system, for sure, that was on the Switch 1, which was kind of janky a little bit. And if you put the wrong one on the wrong rail, especially with the wrist strap attachments, then you had all kinds of problems. One thing I will say that I haven't tested out a whole lot here, and I guess I could test it out now and just see if it does anything. Yeah, the mouse functionality totally works. You can see I'm just sort of moving the Joy-Con along my leg here. It totally works, and I can feel a little bit of haptic feedback actually on it. I think that when Metroid Prime 4 comes out, I might use the mouse functionality a little bit and try that out and just kind of see. But as soon as you reattach the Joy-Cons here and start, kind of moving around, the cursor goes away. But that's the first time I've tried that, which is really cool. Again, not sure how often I'll use that, but I think there could be some use cases with specific games that would be really nice to have some experience with. But the screen looks really great too, honestly. I mean, you've probably seen some of the tech specs. They say it's 120 FPS. When it's dot, it's 4K, it's 1080p. It is an LCD screen, but I think the HDR piece of it, the colors, it just looks really vibrant. I mean, the Switch OLED obviously had a very beautiful screen, but this looks really, really great. And it's bigger than the original Switch. If you put them side by side, you can see this is, measurably a larger screen, and it looks really, really nice. I love the display on this. I think it looks really good. And again, having played a lot of Mario Kart World, which is a very vibrant game, both docked and in handheld mode, it just looks excellent. Now, when I play it in dock mode, I'm playing it on an OLED television, and again, it looks really vibrant there. It looks, I would say, almost as equally vibrant just playing it handheld. But this has really been a great experience. It's not a complete reinvention. It just feels like Nintendo has finally kind of caved to the pressure of, despite it selling, insanely well, the Switch One was just dated tech. It really was. Even when it came out, it was a little bit old. So here we are 8 years later. We needed something new. This feels really good, and games look really great. So again, Mario Kart World looks fantastic. Fast Fusion looks really, really good. Even more realistic. I'm actually going to download Cyberpunk 2077. I beat that on PS5. I want to play it on here because I've seen some tech reviews, and it looks impressively great, and I would love to play through it again because I haven't done Phantom Liberty, the DLC, the expansion for that, so I'm going to enjoy doing that for the first time on Switch. But I gotta say, from a hardware point of view, if you look at the stand and everything else, it's improved. I will say, I think the stand on the OLED is a little bit better. It's a little bit beefier than this, but this is obviously a big improvement on the original Switch stand, which was just a little leg, like a peg type of thing. So this is great. I did put a 256 gigabyte micro SD express card in here to expand the memory. But I have been really impressed with this so far. So I think at this point, it's just a matter of what kind of games are upcoming and how often will I want to play those games. So Donkey Kong Bonanza, obviously, that comes out in July. I'm going to download that. I mentioned Cyberpunk. There are a few other games that I do want to check out. There are some rumored ports that are coming soon, too. But again, I think going through my backlog of Switch 1 games and seeing how those play on here will be great. But I guess the question I want to answer for a lot of people too is, if you have a Switch 1, should you get the Switch 2? And I think it just depends on your situation. Like, I am a Nintendo enthusiast. I'm not going to use the word fanboy, but I just love Nintendo first-party games. So Mario Kart is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I played a ton of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the original Switch, so I knew I was going to get this day one because of Mario Kart World, and that has not disappointed me. I might do a separate review of that after I've had more time. I will say in Mario Kart World, I have gotten the gold trophy, first place on 100cc with every track, including the special track in the game. Now I'm going to 150cc and working through that. So far, I've really liked it a lot. I do think the track variety in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a little bit better, but that's kind of understandable because it's had years of expansions and all of that. But the tracks on here are really cool, especially the Donkey Kong track. There's some dinosaur tracks. There's some really awesome stuff, and the music in this game is fantastic. I like free roam a lot. I can see how over time it would get a little bit repetitive with the P-Switch stuff, but I've enjoyed it, and I think Knockout Tour is really kind of the more impressive thing with this game. But again, I'll do a Mario Kart World review a little bit later. So in terms of should you get this, if you play your Switch regularly and you are just all in on Nintendo stuff, like, yes, you will immediately notice the performance bump that you get with the Switch 2, and I think it's worth it. I do think $449 for the base console, and then $499 if you do the Mario Kart bundle, which is what I got. It's a steep ask, right, price wise, but I do think it's worth it, especially if you play it a lot. If you're more of an Xbox gamer or a PlayStation gamer and you play Nintendo IPs every now and then, I think it depends, honestly, on how much you want to play Mario Kart. If you really want to play Mario Kart World, go get it. If not, you can probably wait a little bit longer to pick this up because, of course, there are plenty of things to play on Game Pass and all of that. So it just kind of depends on your individual situation. But I am very happy with this upgrade. I think it was needed. I think we, needed that a long time ago, and it's finally here. So I think it's a very natural evolution, and hopefully this tech proves itself worthy over the next several years, right, as we get other ports and that kind of stuff. But so far, I've been very impressed with this. The UI is snappier. Going into the eShop is way better than it was on the original Switch. If you've had any experience with that, it was super chuggy and laggy. It's much, much snappier and quicker here. Just really quickly, a quick note. There are two variations of the Mario Kart bundle. And I think this explanation makes sense. There's one that when you look at the box, you can tell that it was printed on the box that it is a Mario Kart bundle. So when I opened my box, I was like, I don't see a download code anywhere for Mario Kart. What is going on here? Did they forget to put it in here? But when you open the eShop and get everything set up, you're automatically prompted to download Mario Kart. So it's already just baked into the hardware and the eShop if you get that one. Some, I think, you'll see with a Mario Kart sticker on it were probably meant to be standalone consoles, and they decided to make them bundles after the fact, so they throw a download code in there, and then you have to enter that code. And so there are two variations on that. It's nice, though, that I got this one where it just automatically had it in the eShop, and then it went from there. But anyway, I think the hardware is great. I think if you're a Nintendo enthusiast and you love Mario Kart, get it right now. I think if you have an interest and just want to see what the games are, you can probably wait a little bit, but I'm very happy with it. So anyway, if you picked up the Switch 2, let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, thanks so much for watching.